Every narcissist goes through 7 extreme phases in their life. That is how they're formed. During the first or 4 or 5 phases, they feel like they're absolutely winning. They build their empire by stepping on people, using them as sacrificial lambs without any regard for the damage they cause. They live like they are invincible, completely convinced that their actions won't catch up to them. They exploit people, manipulate situations, and commit emotional crimes without any fear of consequences. But once that 4th or 5th phase starts fading away, reality begins to set in. Their real karma finally arrives. The 6th and the 7th phase, those are the most painful ones, and that is their true punishment. So stay until the very end to see how all of this unfolds and what they go through. I'm Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to explore 7 stages every narcissist goes through in their life. From cradle to grave, this is exactly how their formation works and how their story ultimately ends. Before we get started with number 1, please consider subscribing to my channel because your subscription helps in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Stage number 1, when the entitled seed is planted. A narcissist's journey does not start with them grabbing power. It starts with how they are programmed as children. Many times their parents enable them blindly, putting them on a pedestal they never earned. They grow up believing they are superior just because they exist. Their impulsivity is fed. These kids are never taught humility. Instead, they learn hierarchy and they're always placed at the top, above their siblings, above the rules that apply to everyone else. When they make mistakes, those mistakes get brushed off. When they are cruel, that cruelty gets excused. The ego gets fed like it is the family's most sacred responsibility. They do not learn accountability, they learn worship. Without ever having to work for anything, they start believing that other people exist just to submit to them. In these homes, love comes with conditions and everything feels like a performance. The parents smile in public but rage behind closed doors, and the child absorbs it all. They figure out that fooling the world brings reward, while being truthful brings punishment. So they become masters of wearing masks, even as children, especially if they're being abused. If they are emotionally neglected and if there is a lot of chaos, they learn that love is not real, only power matters. So they become exactly what they see, what they are dealing with: cold, manipulative, and emotionally shut off. At this point, you may ask, do they even have a choice? I would say yes, because look at your experiences. It's highly likely that you have experienced a lot of childhood trauma. Did you become cruel like your parents? You did not, because you knew what the right thing was to do, and they chose easy over right. Whether they're overpraised or completely dismissed, the foundation is always the same. Their real self gets abandoned and a false self starts taking over. One that is designed to connect with people, not to love them, but to dominate them. Stage number 2. The birth of their false self takes place. As they get older, they completely abandon being authentic and focus entirely on putting a show. They study what gets them praise and copy it perfectly. They start burying their real emotions and replacing them with calculated reactions that get them what they want. Guilt, shame, vulnerability, all of that gets buried deep down. In place of those real emotions, they plant charm, arrogance, and the need to control everything around them. Their authentic self fades into the background, gets silenced, forgotten, and buried under this carefully crafted image they present to the world. And at this point, you need to understand they start camouflaging, they start shape shifting. That's when the mirroring act begins. They become exactly what you want them to be, copy others, acquire a ton of skills they use to fool people into thinking they are a good person, they are kind, compassionate, or a certain type of a person who they actually are not. It's a show. They do not have a self that can experience life for real. They keep moving from one situation to the other in search of a high that they truly never experience. Or if they do, it doesn't last for a long time. Moving on to stage number 3, the high of validation. Talking about high, this is when they get their real taste of power. Romantic partners fall for their act, friends believe their performance, teachers praise them. The narcissist realizes just how much they can get by pretending to care, by copying what emotional depth looks like. They become completely addicted to admiration. Praise becomes like a drug to them. Attention becomes as necessary as oxygen. Anyone who does not supply that constant validation gets discarded or treated terribly. They cannot function without that steady stream of people telling them how amazing they are. So they become parasitic. They heavily depend on the people they think depend on them. Without this praise, without the supply, they won't be able to make it for another day, which is what keeps them in the chase. They're always looking for some kind of distraction, which is how their addiction type of personality takes birth as well. There is always going to be some sort of addiction present in a narcissist that you're dealing with. The narcissist turns into some type of an addict. Maybe they're an addict to attention. They need a lot of people to praise them. Maybe they're a sex addict, a drug addict. There is always an addiction guaranteed. If there is a narcissist, definitely, most definitely, there is an addiction as well. Stage number 4, the mirror game. At this point, they stop seeing people as actual human beings. Instead, they use everyone around them as mirrors. They want you to reflect their greatness back to them, confirm how important they are, validate the fantasy they have created about themselves. If you reflect anything less than perfection back to them, if you point out a flaw, set a boundary, or ask them to be accountable for something, what will they do? They will shatter you like you're a broken mirror. Relationships are not about love. They are just about self-reflection for them. You're not their partner, you're a prop in their show. And it's at this point they start getting really desperate. That's why they go crazy. They jump from one situation into the other really quickly because people are getting to see the person behind the mask and they are getting exposed now. Which brings us to stage number 5, the mask which eventually cracks. All those partners, all those people start catching up with them. People begin leaving their life. The fake persona they have worked so hard to maintain starts crumbling. But even at this point, instead of looking at themselves, looking within, they blame everyone else for the problems. Their rage increases, panic sets in. They desperately try to find new people to supply that validation, but it's not working the same way anymore. Their tricks are not landing like they used to. Their charm is starting to wear thin. They find themselves recycling the same stories, telling the same lies, hoping nobody notices all the cracks that are starting to show. Stage number 6, they turn into an isolated shell. This is where their downfall really begins. Friends start drifting away from them, ex-partners want nothing to do with them, their own children cut off contact completely, they become bitter, paranoid, and increasingly unstable. The world is not applauding them anymore. It doesn't revolve around them anymore, and that silence absolutely terrifies them. They spiral downward, often into addiction, unhealthy obsessions, or deep depression. Like I said, there's always going to be an addiction if there is a narcissist, so that addiction at this point becomes obvious. If they are an alcoholic, now you will see them drunk almost all the time because they can't run away from their own miserable self anymore. They may be surrounded by material things if they're wealthy, but there is nobody left who truly loves them or even likes them as a person. And a lot of narcissists chase younger people because they want to vicariously live through their youth. Or if I am seen with this man or woman, they'll think I'm young as well. So they do not do age appropriate things because they are essentially developmentally stunted or arrested. They do not grow. They do not gracefully age. They miserably do so because the older they get, the closer they get to their own rottenness, to their reality, which is what? They are shame-filled, shame-driven, insecure individuals who never took responsibility for their actions, blamed people for everything, but now it's not working anymore. Stage number seven and the last one, the miserable ending to their life. They grow old without love, without respect, without any real connection to other people. They sit there thinking about all the relationships they destroyed and all the people they pushed away. When those people try to love them, what did they do? They were absent. Their health starts declining. The image they worked so hard to maintain begins fading. And the worst part of all is they still cannot accept that they were the problem all along. This is the delusional part of it. So they die holding on to their delusions, angry at a world that simply stopped playing along with their games, stopped being an extension of their ego. This is the inevitable part of those who choose manipulation over genuine connection, control over authentic love. The early phases may feel like winning, but the final chapters tell a very different story, which is what you gotta focus on. I know you are holding on to a lot of anger, resentment, maybe you're sad because what you went through is not what you deserved. And of course, they should face the consequences. But there is no bigger consequence than their own life. Because the things they do, the pain they cause, it always comes back to them. It always finds a way back to its source. So you just have to sit back and let things happen. That's why I say if you go silent, if you do not intervene, if you do not talk to them, if you become indifferent, you will watch them fall apart because they are nobody in your absence. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, let the healing begin and continue.